Mr. Feenstra.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Ranking Member. I just appreciate you holding this hearing. I'm glad we've dug into how harmful these ideological investment practices can be to American retirees. ESG encourages activism. Think about that. ESG, environment, social governance, encourages activism over financial security of American workers. If you think about today, American workers, this is probably one of the top things that are on their mind. Do they have enough for retirement? Do they have enough dollars for when they get older? And yet we're going down rabbit holes talking about what's good for society, what's good for the environment, and placating to a liberal ideology. But it doesn't only affect retirees. As Mr. Boulay said, and others pointed out, that these misguided investment practices also permeate every aspect of our economy, including agriculture. Meaning, a farmer or rancher would be put under the microscope if these SEC rules continue to go. They'd be put under a microscope by the federal government, subjecting them to new reporting requirements and creating new compliance burdens, would jeopardize privacy violations and create unnecessary liabilities. This would require farmers to actually report their emissions. This is so far outside the scope of the SEC that I just feel it's unbelievable. It's appalling. But that's exactly what SEG does. Managers of retirement funds should be focused on financial security for their retirees. The SEC should be focused on protecting investors. And farmers and ranchers should be focused on feeding and fueling the world. SEG tells all of them that you should forget all this and focus on implementing these liberal, progressive climate and social agenda rules. So, Mr. Boulay, you hit on this in your testimony. As both a farmer and a banker, which I applaud, we have similar backgrounds, can you talk about how the cost of a regulatory compliance like SEG would threaten farmers and potentially could really affect their bottom line? Could you explain that?
You bet. Thank you, Congressman, for that question. And in regards to our farmers and our practices, we all know there's economies of scale. There are large farmers, small farmers, medium-sized farmers, and whenever you implement or mandate a technology to say that you have to use automatic row shutoff on a certain sprayer, if you only have a certain amount of acres to spread that over, that cost can be detrimental. And any attempt for us, the banking industry, to be those regulators of that is absurd and really hard for us to do. We'd have to hire consultants to go out to make sure that all of our farmers were matching a specific ESG policy, which again, raise the cost of capital and raise the cost of food.
You nailed it. I want to talk about that. When you think about improving access to credit for rural communities and rural farmers is something I'm extremely focused on. I actually introduced the ACRE Act, which would improve and lower the cost of rates for farmers. How would these regulations, how could they result in higher costs of borrowing for rural farmers and rural producers? So could SEG actually increase the cost of borrowing?
Thank you for that question, and yes, it could. Again, anytime you mandate more, we're a small bank. We have $225 million. We're almost 35–40% of our lending is in agriculture, and when you put those mandates on, for us to follow the governance part of it, we have to have more people, which in turn raises the cost of capital and makes consumer goods more expensive.
Yep. So it's twofold. So my in-laws are farmers. My dad-in-law and my brother-in-law farm. All right. So it affects not only their borrowing. All right, that will increase, but it also affects them they have to start managing all these new aspects. I mean, it is just an absolute hit to the breadbasket of our nation. Mr. Oakes, how often are employees aware that their retirement funds are being used to pursue a political agenda? Do you think most people are aware of this?
No, because most of the time people don't have the ability to move their money. So it might be in a defined benefit plan, in which case the plan administrator is overseeing those assets. They don't even often know what investment managers are being used, and even if they did, they don't have any input on what managers can be used. And with the 401k, a plan sponsor is going to hire typically an investment firm, and they're going to offer their plan, their investment options in that plan, and so you don't have the ability to move outside of that. So it's really not an investor choice.
Exactly. We're stomping on individuals. We're stomping on American producers. I'm ashamed that this is going down this path. Thank you, and I yield back.